I'm not asking every single customer service rep to individually reach out to every single account. Send out one email saying, this is who it's affecting. If you get serviced in the Midwest, you are probably not going to get your books until Wednesday. We are sorry about that. We are working to resolve this problem. Great. Then I don't have to spend every single day until then worrying about it and thinking about it and trying to devise contingencies.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Eisner approved, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. What? Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower.
Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
W. Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Dal Bush.
Dal.
Dal.
W. Dal Bush.
When talking with one of our wonderful customers and patrons this week about the fact that we had hit 700 episodes, I had said that we done it so long because we don't know how to quit. And then Dal said, I do. I know how to quit. So Dal quit the podcast. He's no longer here. It's just me doing this now by myself. And
Patrick, I'm right here.
What?
I am sitting right next to you.
Oh.
You're looking at me right now.
Oh,
we are making direct eye contact.
I didn't see you there. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Hey, Dal, welcome to episode 701 of Contest of Challengers.
Oh, thanks, Patrick. I've never been on the show before. Tell me what it's about.
I don't know. All the material that I had, I used up on the past 700 episodes. This is a blank slate.
So to be clear, if I'm hearing your sentence correctly, you scripted out the first 700 episodes before you started recording the first one, and now we're done with that material.
Yes.
Okay.
I knew the first 5 AEW World Champions.
Hours.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it just said ad-lib.
Mm-hmm. Say stuff about Batman. Okay.
Sure. That's a lie. I do have something written down for today.
Pretend that quit the show.
Episode. No, that just came to me right as I was about to hit record. I mean, the conversation was true. That did happen. You were there. You did say you would quit in a heartbeat.
Yeah, you had boastfully claimed that we had no idea how to quit, and I assured you that I had every idea how to quit.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of different scenarios.
How many involve faking your death?
2.5.
Okay. The half because it's not faking?
No, it would be faking it, but then it would be like I would eventually reveal that I had faked my death. The other 2 you would never know.
Fair. Well, don't tell me what they are so I can be surprised.
Oh, I'm not telling you any of them. No, I can't risk you circumventing them.
So here's literally, I'm going to have you read it.
Okay.
One note, just 2 words I have written on the sheet for 701.
No cookies? Question mark, question mark.
That is correct. That is what's written.
I'd love to hear that one.
I was working on a project last Friday, on the side counter, the counter that faces the door and people come in.
Mm-hmm.
An older gentleman, and when I say older in this instance, I think probably older than me, but who can tell? In fact, I was shocked to learn that one of our regulars, a guy that you know very well, I'm not saying his name because I don't know it.
Okay.
But someone who's always disgruntled about whatever Batman's doing now and thinks there's way too many Spider-Man titles and you have to fight with him to get him to try a book.
Sure.
But he comes in, at least once or twice a month and buys a couple of books, but he just wants to complain.
Yeah.
I was shocked to learn that I'm in fact older than him.
Wow. And much more open-minded.
And then I said, well, then you know what it was like going to the newsstands and getting your books.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wanted to challenge me on which newsstands exactly I went to downtown because he would go to these. And I'm like, when I say newsstand, I mean drugstores.
Yeah, grocery stores.
I was in the suburbs. I was still in the same, 20-mile area
They didn't have
as
a lot
you.
of actual operating newsstands in like Hinsdale.
Well, he went to this newsstand on this corner. And, it's funny you said that because Hinsdale actually had a pretty big newsstand in their train station.
I was in my head, I was thinking like there's probably several that were like in metro stations.
Yeah, for real. Westmont also had a good
Downers
newsstand in their train
Grove
station.
once upon a time
LaGrange.
might have. Not when I was ever taking the train past the point where, magazines and newspapers were obviously still around, but things were already kind of trending towards like, maybe this isn't a thing anymore.
But anyway, my attempt to sharing an experience of what it used to be like getting comics as a comic book reader when we were much younger became I was going to say pissing contest, but I didn't play.
A game of one-upsmanship played by one person.
You won. Anyway, there was an older man who, not that guy, different guy.
So many old men.
Who was in the store, looked around a little bit, came up to right where I was working, and said, a little more forcefully than you read this out loud, "No cookies?" And I said, "Excuse me?
Yeah, what?
No cookies this time?"
This time.
Like, what do you mean? You don't have any cookies?
What is happening right
now? Look, it is possible that on occasion, if somebody gifts us a large amount of cookies, not a small amount because we keep those,
yes,
but a large amount of cookies, we may give some out. Or if you cast your mind back to the Saturday before Christmas last holiday season, both of my sisters were in wrapping presents and selling cookies as a way to raise money for the Alzheimer's Association.
Right.
So if that person had been in on that day, yes, we had cookies.
Right, which was 8 months ago.
However, we do not customarily have cookies. And by his force of shock of no cookies, it made me think that he'd been given a cookie last time, not bought a cookie. So, and again, like if it was, I don't know, not in the last couple years, but early Batman days, we would buy cookies and have cookies out.
If somebody angrily said to me, "No cookies," I'd be puzzled, but then I would be like, why do you think there would be cookies? Like, tell me in your head what led up to you believing that you could come into the store and there would just be cookies for you.
Yes, that's exactly what you would do in the midst of a project.
I would literally drop what I was doing. Like I would, whatever was in my hands, I would put them down, get off the ladder and be like, walk me through this. Like, explain to me what led you to come into the store in late August, and tell me why you think there are cookies here and why you're angry that they're not here.
And did you come into a comic book shop specifically to get a cookie?
Yeah, again, just like there would be so many follow-up questions because I can't imagine any thought process that generated no cookies would be something I'd be like, no, that makes sense. Like there'd be a whole bunch of little like off-ramps in that explanation where I'd be like, okay, wait, but why did you think that thing?
Now, Gina was working and she had told a story where her day job is at a vet and a grateful customer had dropped off like a box of cookies. Mm-hmm. And apparently where she works is near a homeless shelter or a methadone clinic. I wasn't paying attention.
Okay.
And they had given cookies away to some of the homeless people.
Okay.
So, and it turns out that Gina herself never even got a cookie.
Okay.
Like whoever was up front just like disposed them right away.
Sure.
So then for a few days after that, those very same homeless people would come in demanding cookies.
Okay.
So it's obviously a similar situation, but it was way worse for them.
I don't know that I would use the word obviously in any of this explanation or hypothesis. Because even if we're allowing for your theory to be correct, that this person came in
at a point where they
months,
somehow received a cookie.
Months or seasons ago and they got a cookie. For them to just randomly come in on a Friday, months or seasons later, and being like, well, where are the cookies? It's like, you would expect that to be within a more reasonable time frame, a few days, maybe even a few weeks. But like, it seriously would be like getting a Christmas present in December and then showing up in July and being like, where are the presents? Like, why wouldn't you think it was right after that? Or why would you think that it's just any random day you come in?
Well, I have to say
So many questions.
that is purely a selfish point of view from that person.
Mhm.
Because if we use New Girl logic,
Mhm.
they needed to come in and give us a cookie.
Give me a cookie, give you a cookie.
Give a cookie, give a cookie.
Give me a cookie, give a cookie.
I gave you a cookie, man. I gave you a cookie.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we are owed cookies from that person.
Yes.
Now, we are fortunate that we have some very wonderful people that shop with us regularly.
To whom I have never said no cookies.
Correct.
I've never said it to a customer.
Correct.
I've never been like,
Yes,
no
that's true.
cookies?
Yeah. And we do get cookies occasionally, but we don't give those away.
Yeah, we frequently pay for them.
I frequently don't give them to you.
That's true.
That's not true. I give them to you even when I don't want to.
Right. Usually because someone has specified that these are specifically for me, as opposed to these that are for you and these that are to be shared.
I'm a good person. I share everything.
That's very good.
I also share news that may not be beneficial to our business for the sake of not transparency. The sake of transparency, it sounds like the transparency itself is the goal. It's not. It's to, in fact, create more of an understanding, not a bond, but a relationship where the people that shop with us know what's happening, so they feel like they're part of the, not process, but part of the whole, this is me asking for words.
Oh, ecosystem?
Sure. You couldn't see that, but I was, my arm was outstretched and I was outstretched and I was motioning my hand in a circular
Imagine
fashion.
Patrick making the motion of a very large pancake.
Yeah, no. I need two hands for that,
know.
Dal.
It's news that you can use so we can lose.
Did you just come up with that?
Yeah.
Wow.
You're welcome.
I mean, if this was yesterday, I would have sworn that was a Sports Night reference.
No,
but it's not yesterday anymore.
Yesterday was Sports Night Day, Patrick.
Yeah.
Today is original material.
Nice.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that our quest for transparency and feeling like the sense of community that we fostered within Challengers it should be a two-way street means that we're frequently telling people not to come into the store for one reason or another. Which is detrimental to our business.
Sure.
And emotional and mental well-being.
Let's go back. I don't know, a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, we had an artist signing where at the last minute the creator got sick.
Yeah.
And couldn't make it, and they were in from out of town.
And contagious sick in a way where it's like you definitely should not come into the store.
They were in from out of town, so this wasn't something that could be easily rescheduled, and we just had to cancel the event.
Mm-hmm.
Now, any change in an artist event or a creator event or a signing is difficult. Oftentimes, it's because we don't get the book on time. There's a problem at shipping. Now more than ever, we're realizing that we cannot schedule signings for books we're getting from Diamond when they are non-traditional comics, like when they're all ages graphic novels or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of publishers that Diamond does not ship out the same week of release as every other distributor. Yeah. Specifically like Scholastic and graphic stuff. We always get like a week later, a lot of first, second stuff.
So when we need to reschedule, we try to announce that on every possible channel, mainly in the event description itself, understanding that most people who've seen the event listing and made a note, whether it be in a calendar or in their head, that they're going to come to it, they don't go back and look at it later.
Right.
But we're just trying to cover the bases.
And a lot of the people that will find out something specifically about like an artist event, it might take weeks for them to finally see a post that says that this is happening. So the idea that they could then find out new information within like 48 hours is usually not going to happen.
Now more than ever, when algorithms are not working in our favor, or anybody's favor really, but if an artist needs to cancel at the last second, what do you do? Right. You put it on the event listing on our website, on the Facebook event. You post about it on Facebook. You post about it on Twitter.
Sure. But what about people like me who don't use social media?
Yeah.
If I found out from the store's email or because I came in and I saw a flyer, like you could send out another email, but maybe I don't open that for a few days.
Right.
And I wouldn't see a notification in the store like an advisory that the event had been canceled or rescheduled or
because you're not coming in until the event.
Because I'm not coming in until the event is happening, and by that point it's far too late.
Yeah, and we would correct the flyers. We've got a bunch of binders on a shelf in Sidekicks that have flyers of every event the store's ever done. We used to do write-ups with photos. Now it's just the actual event flyer.
Then we got lazy
And
because we've been doing it for too long.
There's some events we never made flyers for that I would still quickly make a non-published flyer to print out to put in that book.
As proof that we did it.
Yeah, just as a reminder for us. And it even had a lot of our magic events, which to us were not really store events, but things like that.
But they happened at the store, and we were just, once upon a time, we took that part of the job, the accumulation of history, very seriously.
Just now I realized that we've never done any flyers for the books for any of the current iteration of the book clubs.
Yeah, I guess that would be where I'd probably draw the line at this point.
But I mean,
it's like we also, I don't think ever did it for like Women's Comics Night or whatever. Did we?
Yeah, no, we didn't. You're right.
So it's the same thing, where it's a social club meeting at the store, but it's not technically a Challengers event. We did not design it, even if we're hosting it.
Technically, I was informed that the book club, as it exists now, is a Challengers book club.
Well, that just sounds like someone's shifting the blame onto us.
Because that is a continuation of the book club that we were running, and we just stepped back.
I guess there had been such a hiatus that I think of this as more of an offshoot of Women's Comics Night. That is not...
Yes, but the people that actually run it and attend it don't think of it as that.
Okay, but what about the people who started the first book club? Did they get a vote?
Apparently not.
It sounds like they don't. It sounds like we're just being told by the attendees that it is their thing now, but it was our thing before.
I think it was a very nice way of trying to still give credit. You look at it as assessing blame.
Yeah, I guess I'm just telescoping ahead of who's culpable.
So there's several flyers in those binders that have cut out and pasted down new dates for events that have changed.
Sometimes if it was a very small amount of flyers left, we would just like scribble off and then write in with marker like 23rd instead of 15th.
Because we can't reuse those as printer paper if they have taped on other pieces of paper.
If there's a greater thickness to them, they don't go through the printer correctly.
And we like to make use of every scrap of paper we possibly can. Scrap paper at the store are my Marvel value stamp day-by-day calendar sheets that as I tear off, I bring into the store to reuse as scrap paper.
Yeah, they're great.
We try to be as useful with physical things.
Thankfully, one year, I think for Free Comic Book Day, we had a ton of quarter sheets that we were giving out.
Yeah.
And we just printed up way too many. There wasn't that much attendance. So we had stacks of these white pieces of paper with black printing on one side and blank on the other side. So it's like great scrap paper.
Scrap paper. So we do make an effort to get the word out whenever possible. And if it's an email situation, like oftentimes we're not going to send out an email just for that event unless there was an email sent out just for that event to begin with. But most of the time we don't do specific event emails. We just have the events listed in our weekly Thursday email.
Right. So
and if there's time, that email would say, hey, just so you know, this date has changed for this upcoming event.
Yep.
But when there's not time...
But we're not going to blast out an email to, thousands of people saying, hey, the signing that was coming 3 days from now has been rescheduled.
Only if it was a natural email schedule.
When less than 1% of the people reading that email would have even had an interest in coming, it's like 99% of people I got to tell that an event that they were never going to go to is now happening on a different date or not at all. That does not feel like a good use of everyone's time.
And I do feel that the other 99% that got that email that didn't care about it would be annoyed by one extra email from us. You'd think.
And that's like we talked about a few episodes ago on the podcast. We try to limit how many emails we send people in a month because we get tons of emails and they annoy us. And then we stop opening those emails because too many of them show up.
Also, we'd have to pay for that email in one way or the other.
That doesn't bother me a whole lot.
Maybe it should, though.
I will, in the instance where we have to send out email to our subscriber list at the last minute, I will pay that $3 extra.
Always more than $3.
Depends on how many people we're sending it to.
But you're never going to reach everybody, and you can't, right? And all you can do is feel bad when somebody says, I drove in from Milwaukee to meet this person. Like, I'm sorry, we updated all of our socials, the account listing, like, we didn't have your phone number to call you directly.
Right. And even then, it would have gone to voicemail and you wouldn't have checked it.
So the bigger question I have for this, and obviously we are getting somewhere, is what is the responsibility of the shop to get that information out to their customers when it will directly affect A, those customers coming in on a specific day, and,
knowing that in general a store only makes money when customers come in,
and B, knowing that letting them know, you just took my B,
sorry,
you're going to make less, perhaps significantly less money that day because you're telling people there's a reason they need to know they may not want to come in.
Mhm.
What is the level of responsibility of the shop? And this isn't a question that has a definitive answer. This only has the challenger's answer.
Yeah, you can give it an opinion.
Yeah.
You can't give like a definitive answer.
And this is a two-part section because we are obviously referring, and this time I think obvious works because I assume the majority of the people who listen to this podcast already know what happened to the Chicago and the Chicagoland area this week as far as new comics go. And that is that Lunar Distribution, the company that we get our DC, Image, Oni, Fantagraphics, Drawn and Quarterly, Silver Sprocket, Mad Cave, Source Point, Pow Pow, Vault,
Ahoy,
AWA, all those publishers we get.
Trying to think of the FOC list
from
that I look at every week.
From Lunar, and Lunar didn't get us our books for this week until Wednesday.
Yeah, and as I think I've talked about semi-recently, as Lunar deliveries have been showing up later and later, Tuesday is when they've kind of always promised, but we would, for years, get them between Tuesday and Thursday the week before. Rarely we would get them on Fridays, and almost never the Monday or Tuesday before release. But now,
especially on a holiday week, which this was.
Yeah, so we got Penguin Random House. We get weekly shipments for new product from 3 distributors. Lunar, who we talked about all the different publishers they cover for us. Penguin Random House, which is Marvel, Dark Horse, IDW, maybe a couple of some manga publishers like Kodansha,
Seven Seas,
Square Enix, and then obviously Penguin Random House,
their own books,
imprints like Inklore,
Little Golden Books.
But then from Diamond we kind of get a bunch of small people. The biggest one is Boom,
Dynamite, Story,
Titan, and then Viz, and a whole bunch of non-comics product. Like we get most of our non-comics weekly product, like pops, action figures, statues, any sort of novelty thing from Diamond.
This week it was Deadpool keychains.
Lunar, we don't really get that stuff from, and Penguin Random House beyond their out-of-print pin and bag and shirt collections.
That out-of-print being the company name, not...
It's called, the imprint is called Out-of-Print.
Which always confuses me.
It's not great, especially when you're searching for stuff. I
was going to order this pin,
this
Library Cat pin, but it's out of print.
I forgot where we were starting from with this.
So you're talking about the different days we get books from.
Yeah, so what PRH had done, Penguin Random House had done, was they shipped out stuff. Usually they ship out for us Wednesday night, we get them Friday. The week before Labor Day, they shipped out Tuesday, so we got them Thursday. So they made sure that essentially, even if anything had gone wrong, we wouldn't get the books any later than Friday, which is when we would normally get them. As opposed to if they'd shipped them out at the normal rate, if anything would have gone wrong, we'd get them the following Tuesday, which they are a book distributor, and there's a specific shipment we get from them every week that is on sale dates of Tuesday. All the graphic novels we get from them, their on sale date is Tuesday, so they will not get us that stuff generally any later than Monday. So they have to make sure all that stuff comes in on a Monday holiday week, the previous Thursday or Friday. Diamond, we always get on Tuesdays, so I think they might have shipped out maybe a day earlier from their hub, but we still got them on the Tuesday before release date, which was the day after Labor Day. Lunar, however, did it differently.
It's always a crapshoot, really, as you sit there waiting to get the email tracking information. And Lunar also uses different methods of shipping. It could be FedEx, it could be UPS, it could be L to L freight, depending on if you have how big your shipment is, if you have a loading dock.
LTL. What is it? Less than something?
0. Was that Elton John album?
No, that's not what it
That's
stands
too
for.
low for 0. Number
It's-
2, arrow pointing down. Number 4, 0.
Now that Patrick has said that, I'm going to say that LTL, I believe, stands for less than truckload, which basically means like you are getting a pallet in a larger truck rather than a truckload of stuff is going to come to your business.
Yeah, if we got a truckload of stuff on a Tuesday, we would never unpack it in time.
Getting back a little bit, one of the really nice things about previously how everything had worked is that Penguin Random House and Diamond are pretty much clockwork. Diamond comes in Tuesday. There's obviously always things that can go wrong, both on a last mile level, as far as like the UPS driver, for whatever reason, doesn't stop at your business, comes after you're closed, comes before you're open, and then you have to deal with that. But in general, the process is pretty reliable. Diamond ships out whenever they ship out. You get it Tuesday. That's it. Penguin Random House, we get tracking information and a notification from Penguin Random House Wednesday nights. As the comics are boxed up, they give us a manifest of here's the individual books that are in each individual box, how much each box weighs, what that box's tracking number is, whatever. And then you get them Friday. Lunar, for its existence, has sadly not been that reliable. While it's always been, for us, a shipment that comes the earliest, frequently, of all of our vendors, it was never reliable. When it was pre-DC moving back to Wednesdays, when DC would have their release dates on Tuesdays and everybody else would be on Wednesdays, we were generally getting our Lunar stuff on Thursdays. But again, it could be as early as Tuesday that week, as late as Friday that week. So they're, unlike everybody else, which had one day where you would expect them to come in 99% of the time, Lunar was like, there is a range of 4 days. There's one it's more likely to happen on, but it is a range of 4 days, which was kind of, not great considering how much product we get from Lunar, which started as just DC, but eventually grew to encompass, again, Image and like 12 other publishers.
And
so
we
it's a lot
add
of stuff now.
every publisher that Lunar adds, we jump on and switch all of our orders to them because we like the ordering, we like the interfaces, we like the transparency and discounts, we like the levels that we hit, we like the way they pack things.
Mm. But more than anything, we liked how they would get to us very early, which gave us more time to unpack, check in, get any problems dealt with, and make sure that everything was ready to go on the shelves.
Some retailers
Tuesday
will
night after we
tell
close.
you that they don't want to do business with their largest competitor.
And that's fine. I mean, every store makes their own judgments as far as, what's an ethical way to run their business.
Sure. One of the other factors is that when we get the shipping information from Lunar, it's basically, hey, it's packed up and here's all the information. But it doesn't get picked up from their warehouse for a day or two. So when you get traditionally when you get the shipping notification from a different distributor, let's say Southern Hobby, you're getting these books tomorrow.
Yeah, with UPS, with Penguin Random House, which we get via UPS, we will get tracking information Wednesday night, but usually those numbers aren't even active in UPS's system until like the next morning. I don't know if it gets picked up overnight or very early the next day, but if you get an email from Penguin Random House that says, here's the tracking number, you plug it into UPS's site and they're like, we don't know what this is. So it can be a thing where when you get the email that says like, here's the tracking number, it just means it's been labeled.
Sure, but doesn't it usually mean it's in 2 days?
Yeah, again, we can calculate it out based on how often again, when you get that tracking information Wednesday night from Penguin Random House and you get the books on Friday every week, you can kind of figure out like, this is how long it's going to take.
But Lunar isn't like that. Lunar can be an extra day or two added onto it.
Right.
And I understand in the last couple of months, they've had big adjustments on their end because now that DC's books are being released on Wednesday like everybody else, the printer is not shipping the books to them until a day or so later in the week as well. So they've lost a day like we've lost a day, but them losing a day feels like them losing 4 days.
Yeah.
And they've been getting later and later, and it's an adjustment period, and I get that. Like, hopefully this gets worked out. And for retailers that would call them and say, hey, including us, it's Friday and there's no movement on these, when are we going to get them? One of their standard responses was, we have always guaranteed your books by the Tuesday before they go on sale, Nothing has changed.
So here's the problem with that explanation, is that is maybe technically correct in that that's what they've said, but it is also an inaccurate piece of information, because even if you're accounting for the fact that DC Comics now release on Wednesdays, DC Trades release on Tuesdays. So if you're getting us the books the day before they go on sale, you're getting them to us the day before the comics go on sale, the day the graphic novels go on sale. I'm not arguing that every store is putting like that stuff on sale on Tuesdays just because they can.
Right, we're not.
I'm telling you for a fact we're not. But I'm also saying that is not accurate as far as the reality of the on-sale dates of the products you're shipping us.
Now, I may have erroneously used guarantee. They may not have said guarantee.
Sure.
But they've always maintained that they only have to get them to you a day before.
Yeah, and I mean, regardless of what they are required to do by terms of sale or what contracts we signed or whatever, there's the bigger problem of this was something that was always done to one level of service and is now being done to another level of service. And I don't know that a great customer response is to tell your accounts, yeah, well, we were always doing more than we should have. And now we're not doing that anymore. Like, that's a weird thing to say. Like, we make it a habit to have all the comics on the shelves Wednesday morning when we open at 11. You come into
Even
Challengers.
if Dal has to stay late on
Yeah.
a Tuesday night.
You come into Challengers when we open the doors at 11. If we have new product, it is all on the shelves ready to go and pulled for subscribers. You can come in at 11:01, browse our racks, get your subscription books, and get out the door. Are we required to do that? No, we've only ever had the stuff on sale on Wednesdays. We could start putting them out at 6 o'clock. We could not have subscriber books pulled until 5 o'clock. Is that a thing we want to tell our customers? That well, sure, we were always doing that way, but we never promised that. Like,
I know stores
that's
that
not the point.
put their books on the shelves and then start pulling subscription books.
Sure.
I know stores that used to, I don't know if they still do, but they would unpack everything, put everything on the shelf, and then pull club from their shelves.
Oh my God, that's insane.
But I mean, if that's the way you do it, that's the way you do it.
Sure.
It's just not the way we would do it.
Yeah, I would never put everything on the shelves and then pull off copies I need for subscribers. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Now, Lunar has also had reasons why this happened this week, but the point is, it happened and it sucked for everybody. And this wasn't a Challenger's problem. This was any store that got their books from Lunar, who operates in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And believe you me, I checked.
It was everybody.
Because I was, I didn't check every store, but I checked.
But it was everybody you would look at normally.
Yeah. And I wanted to make sure it wasn't just an our problem.
Sure.
But this is where it gets around to the other question. And first, let me just add in this other little nugget to the story. And I said nugget on purpose for reasons you'll understand immediately, Dal, because this is a heads-up thing you did. We got to the store, or the area, Wednesday morning around 10:15. We went up to 11, knowing that the tracking information from FedEx, and our books sent FedEx, but other stores I talked to were getting theirs UPS. But anyway, FedEx said the books were being delivered between noon and 4 p.m.
Mm-hmm. Which is the standard time that FedEx drops off Lunar for us on other days of the week.
So we stopped at McDonald's so Dal could get breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
And
one for Wednesday mornings, it's 1 bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit using my points, so it's free. A hash brown and a large Diet Coke.
Didn't it used to be 2 biscuits?
I don't do 2 biscuits on Wednesdays because I usually get lunch on Wednesdays. If I do 2 biscuits in the morning, that is my meal for like the next 7 hours.
So while we pulled in and parked, and Dal was about to get out to go into the restaurant, we see a FedEx truck. And Dal says, I think that's our guy.
Well, no, so here's the thing. You saw the FedEx truck. I literally saw the guy.
Okay.
I was looking, like, basically my head was turned to the street, like the opposite end of McDonald's. And I saw in his FedEx uniform, our usual FedEx guy, the guy who brings in the Lunar boxes. And then you saw the truck and you're like, oh yeah, that's FedEx
truck right there. This we were in the parking lot. They were not. They were on a side street.
Yeah, because they were delivering
next
to I think I saw the guy leaving from like a residential spot. Like he was dropping a box off.
And I didn't see the guy at all. And Dal's like, I think that's our guy. And I said, how can you tell from the truck? You said, no, I saw the guy.
No, it's the guy.
Like, I didn't see the guy. And Dal's like, think they have our books? I'm like, I don't know. And Dal says, I'm going to go find out. So he gets out of the car and goes up to the truck.
Yeah. And at which point, like, there's nobody in the cab of the truck. They're all in the back. But, like, I'm standing there for, like, maybe 10 seconds, and, like, the driver comes out, and the guy comes out. Like, so there's, like, basically there's a driver for the FedEx truck, and then the guy who actually brings in the boxes. That's usually how their team works, is one guy is in the truck, and one guy is dropping boxes.
Unless it's a huge order, then they both come in.
Sometimes it's 2 or 3 people, like, during the holidays. But, so I see the guy, and I'm like, hi, I'm Dal from Challengers Comics, and thankfully I was dressed for work. So he's like, oh, yeah, okay. I'm like, yeah, this is going to sound crazy, but I think you might have 3 boxes from us, for us from one of our vendors. Like, they were supposed to deliver them. It's been late. They're supposed to come later today. Is there any way, like, we're going to be at the store in, like, 5 minutes. I don't know what your route is. Like, is there any way you can maybe, like, head over there? We'll meet you there. And the guy's like, do you just, where's your car at? I'm like, oh, we're just in the McDonald's parking lot. Do you want me to just bring them to your car? Yes. Oh my God. Yes, that would be great. Thank you. So he takes the 3 boxes and puts them on his handcart. I open the trunk of Patrick's car. We load the boxes in.
I do nothing for this entire situation.
He has me sign on the pad just like normal. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. He's like, oh, this works out great for us. It saves us time. I'm like, win-win. Thank you. So we had the boxes at the store at 10:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
When we weren't even expecting to get them until at the earliest noon.
So we have no idea how much time that saved us. So that was such a heads up play by Dal and such a wonderful bonus that the FedEx guys did.
I've always said it was valuable to go to McDonald's for breakfast.
Yeah.
Always said it.
I made a point of saying that we were getting Dal breakfast at McDonald's because I had previously stopped at Dunkin' for myself on Wednesday.
Sometimes Patrick will get McDonald's, but he did not in this instance.
I try not to. There's things at McDonald's that I like too much, and I can't eat due to
You
food
did McDonald's
allergies.
breakfast for about 3 weeks, slowly weaning yourself off of all the things you like from McDonald's.
Yeah.
Until eventually you were like, I'm just going to do Dunkin' again.
If there's time. If there's not time, I will suffer, as will everyone around me, because of how vocal I am. So we were able to get the books in the store by 10:30, as Dal said, and immediately start cutting into them. And they were on the shelf by 11:30. And I got to tell you, Dal, like, record timing, unpacked that shipment.
I got a system, and I will tell you it is not even record time. I've done it faster. You haven't been there.
I didn't help because I was just getting in his way. I have my own system when I'm doing it. I wasn't doing it. He was doing it. So anyway, that helped a lot. However, when we knew we were not getting the books, we wanted to make sure people knew that all of that product wasn't going to be on the shelves.
Yeah, we knew Tuesday morning because Tuesday morning is when they finally picked up the boxes from Lunar. FedEx picked them up. So by Tuesday morning, we were like, they are definitely not getting here until Wednesday. There's no version of this where these boxes are going to arrive on Tuesday.
And so I started texting around to other stores, being like, did you get Lunar? Do you have Lunar yet? And everyone's like, nope. And a lot of other stores online were reporting the same thing.
Yeah.
So we knew we weren't getting the books in time. And we also knew we had a creator signing right at 11, but for a Marvel book that we already had. That we already had. So you as the customer, and I'm talking to the listener now, Dal, not you, but you can of course chime in because this involves you.
I buy stuff at Challenge.
You as the customer, if you knew, if you were getting Image books, DC books, whatever else, not even realizing what else there might be on the shelf, and we knew, Challengers knew that half of the stuff wasn't going to be available for you to buy, do you think we should tell you? Do you think it's our job to let you, the customer, know that you're making your weekly trip on Wednesday morning and some of the books may not be there? I'm waiting. You haven't answered. All right, fine. Play hard to get. I don't care. We think it's our responsibility to tell you that.
Yeah, one of the things that was most disappointing about this whole process to me was how little transparency there was from Lunar. We had to keep checking the manifest for the boxes to see if tracking numbers had been added. We had to keep track of what box, had they left, had they not left, where were they, when are they going to get here? And even I had reached out Friday night to Lunar to say, hey, it looks like these boxes haven't left yet, knowing how shipping works in the United States on a holiday weekend, that if they hadn't even been labeled yet Friday night in Indiana, that there was no way they were going to get to us before, Wednesday, it seemed like at that point, because I couldn't imagine that they were going to get picked up Saturday or Sunday. But maybe, I know that sometimes people, places will work weekends and they'll ship stuff out, and maybe FedEx is still picking up on a Saturday. So I reached out to Lunar basically to say, what is happening? Can you give me some, advisory on, is this happening? Is it not happening? Is there a problem? Is this a widespread thing? And I just got an automated, oh, we're out of office. And then I finally got someone to get back to me Tuesday afternoon, after which point the labels had been printed, the boxes had tracking number.
We knew it was already
and
too
we
late.
knew they were coming in on Wednesday. And it was just they've been labeled, they're going out. And it's that doesn't help me anymore. I needed to know, A, when you knew that these were not going to be reaching us until Wednesday, to tell me that so I can plan for it accordingly. Thankfully, Challengers is a relatively small operation in the sense that one person, me, can unpack the entire order and get it ready to go on the shelves in an hour. But if we were getting 10 boxes, if we were getting 15 boxes, I would need to bring people in for that.
This was not a big week for Lunar. It was an average week. It could have been a lot bigger. There could have been
there's
1 to 2 more boxes.
For sure, larger orders. So it would be nice for me as a store to understand, if you know they're not going out yet, if you know that we're not getting them, keep me apprised of that. And additionally, when you tell me that they went out the Tuesday before they go on sale, meaning I'm not going to get them till sometime on new release day, do not provide me with they went out. That's a fact. I don't need that. I need you to tell me why this happened and if it's going to happen again.
Yeah. One of the things in the email was basically, but don't worry, you're going to get your books tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
That's too late.
Yeah, that's
already on sale day.
That's like saying, don't worry, they're going to arrive someday.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried they would never arrive. I was worried that I wouldn't have them in time to sell them to my customers who are coming in on release day.
Now, a different retailer in a different state got an actual answer from Lunar as to why this happened and shared it to other retailers. So we know the stated cause, and it doesn't matter what it is.
And to be fair, it's stated by one customer service rep. So this again is not an official statement from Lunar. Lunar has not made an official statement that I've ever seen. And I get Lunar emails multiple times a day.
It was a consensus talking to other retailers that, gosh, it would have been nice if they could have let us know ahead of time.
Yeah.
When they knew this was happening.
When there have been delays from other vendors before, Diamond specifically, we usually get a notification email, if nothing else, stating that there has been something that's happened in the supply chain. It is affecting Diamond's ability to send out books. Here is the expectation of when things will be resolved and who it's going to affect. Like when there is bad weather in certain parts of the country during certain seasons, Diamond will send out an advisory saying, hey, if you're serviced by UPS and you're in this region, you may get your books late because UPS is having these problems with the weather, or this problem with a truck, or whatever. So there is a sense that we can feel a little bit of certainty as to where we are in the process. The bigger frustration with Lunar this past weekend was, again, it was all on us to keep refreshing pages and hoping that things would move, or not knowing when it was ever going to get fixed. And I get that it's a holiday weekend even for customer service reps, but I'm not asking every single customer service rep to individually reach out to every single account. Send out one email saying, this is who it's affecting. If you get serviced in the Midwest, you are probably not going to get your books until Wednesday. We are sorry about that. We are working to resolve this problem. Great. Then I don't have to spend every single day until then worrying about it and thinking about it and trying to devise contingencies depending on, well, what if the book show up Tuesday? I had to talk to Molly Jane and tell her, maybe you need to come in Tuesday to help me out with this, but maybe you don't because, as of Saturday, I don't know where these books, they're currently still in Indiana. I don't know when they're moving. That means I can't ask you to come in because there may be nothing for you to do.
I'm sorry, Dal. You previously said that we're a small enough operation that you can do everything yourself.
Turns out I could. Well, this is the note. I can do all of the unpacking myself.
Sure.
The bigger problem is when Diamond and Lunar show up on the same day, and I have to run the store. That's where things start to get clogged up and nothing gets done in less than 10 hours.
Well, good news. Lunar didn't come that day. They came a full day after that.
Yay. That honestly, it did make things weird little easier. Because it was like, oh, Patrick can just cover all this stuff. I will just concentrate on unpacking, and then we will slowly pull through the day. We already set aside subscriber books before anything went on the shelves.
And as the subscriber came in, if we hadn't gotten to their name
we just
alphabetically,
double check their list, and it's like, oh, you didn't get anything this week from Lunar. You're ready to go. Or, oh, let me pull these 2 books for you and hand them to you. It was easy enough. And everyone got pulled before 3 o'clock, I think.
Yeah. So, look, it was a problem that got solved, but it's a problem that could have had more information. And the point was, we wanted to make sure that wasn't your problem.
Right.
So we gave you the information ahead of time.
And let
we
you
did
make
it
the decision.
Multiple ways. It was in Dal's Tuesday night video.
It was.
It was in multiple Instagram, Facebook posts.
Mm-hmm.
And more than that, and directly to the people affected, it was in the Tuesday night subscriber email.
So here's the problem with the Tuesday night subscriber email notification. The problem is it only went out to people that did not receive, it only went out to people who received stuff from Penguin Random House or Diamond publishers. It did not go out to people who were only getting things from Lunar.
Sure.
Because obviously the notification email is, here's what arrived for you. If none of your stuff is arriving until the next day, you are getting no notification. But the flip side is, if you were only getting stuff from a Lunar publisher and you didn't get an email, you wouldn't think to go in because you would think nothing arrived for you.
Yeah. So
it's kind of how I look at it.
It still kind of worked out.
Yeah. The notification is you got no notification that anything arrived.
So again, my point is that we tried to reach as many people as we could that could possibly be affected, knowing that we were going to do less business Wednesday as a result.
Yeah, because we did not know.
Guess what happened?
We did less business.
Yes.
We did not know, obviously, when we were sending out all the notifications Tuesday night via all those different channels Patrick mentioned, when we would be getting the books on Wednesday, if at all. The expectation was we would get them between 12 and 4. Our FedEx driver, as noted, very good, very reliable. So when we saw that notification, but there have been times where in previous Lunar shipments, let's say it's 3 boxes, 1 box doesn't get on the truck in time in the morning. So you get 2/3 of your Lunar shipment. The next box will be arriving the next day when it's back on the truck. That could have happened this time. We didn't know.
Or if you get it on Friday, you don't get that other box until Monday.
Right. So,
which has happened.
You know, there was a version of this where we might not get the boxes until 4 o'clock. They might not be unpacked until 5. So while we were lucky enough to be
barely pulled by 7.
While we were lucky enough to be able to get them early enough to tell people, you know, around noon, hey, these are ready to go. You can come get them now. It could have been way worse.
Right. And again, we felt like it's our job, our responsibility to give you that information. However, as a follow-up, I wanted to see what other stores were saying about this inconvenience and disruption in the potential customer buying habits. So I only focused locally on other stores in the city, and honestly, surprisingly, I found nothing.
That's weird.
I found that nobody that I looked up, maybe some stores did that I didn't look up, nobody had posted anything saying, hey, there's going to be a delay.
It's weird. I just think how I would feel. Like, I never want to be in the position where I feel like I'm tricking people. That's definitely like a core value as far as how I feel as a retailer. I want there to be a sense of, you know, again, transparency, but also just basic decency, where I don't want someone coming out to the store under false pretenses, and then it's like, haha, you're here, now you got to buy stuff. Like, I don't want to be that guy, and I don't think that works necessarily. Like, even if you can get people into the store, great, now they're disappointed. When you go to a place and you're disappointed, Patrick, how often do you feel like you want to spend more money than you would have normally?
There are stores that I've burned to the ground in my mind for perceived slights on my end about giving me wrong information or not having a thing that's supposed to be out.
Yeah.
Or lying about it and saying, no, that record isn't out yet. And then me literally buying it across the street at a competing record store and then going back to say, hey, just so you know, this album is out, and having them not give a shit, and me thinking that I was letting them know that, hey, there may be a problem, maybe that your order didn't come in or something happened, when in fact they just didn't give a shit. Maybe they never even ordered the Sammy Hagar album I wanted.
What about Calvin Klein ties?
No, see, that's the opposite. Those people.
I mean, it took them a few years.
Right.
That's not great service.
No, but we don't know. All right, look, here's the story.
Did we not tell this on the podcast already? I feel
Did
like
we?
did.
I don't know. I'll tell it again.
Okay.
When I was working in the
Tell the short
suburbs,
version.
somebody came in to the store wearing a Calvin and Hobbes tie. And I said, that tie is amazing. Where'd you get it? And they said, this whatever tie shop in the Oakbrook Mall. I'm like, great. I go there. They don't have any. I go to the desk and say, hey, I was looking for Calvin and Hobbes ties. And they're like, we sold out of them. We don't have any more. But if you want, I'll take your name and number. If we get more back in, I'll give you a call. Fantastic. 3 years later, I get a call from that tie shop letting me know that a new shipment of Calvin Klein ties had come in. And obviously it was a different person, or not, who could even tell?
Might have even been in a different store by that point. Who knows?
But, I mean, so obviously they'd never gotten God, I keep doing it.
Right?
Calvin and Hobbes
How are you
ties,
doing it?
mainly because Calvin and Hobbes ties are technically illegal because they were never licensed out.
Yep.
Bill Watterson only ever did book collections and calendars, no other merchandise, nothing. No t-shirts, no gym shoes, no Calvin peeing on the Ford logo stickers.
Those are
none
all
of that.
unauthorized if you've seen them in the wild.
And those ties were bootlegs. So obviously they never got more in. So somebody somewhere found a note with my name on it and misinterpreted it to be Calvin Klein ties. And as far as I know, they had never sold Calvin Klein ties before until they got that one shipment in and gave me a call.
Amazing.
So
What
yeah,
follow
that
through?
they didn't lose my business because of this. Technically, they never had it.
Correct.
Because it's a tie shop in Oakbrook and their ties are very expensive. And up until a few years ago, I was buying all my ties online in a place called tycoon.com because they were $5 ties.
Sure.
And I still wear them to this day. Maybe next Wednesday, and I'll probably forget this, so don't hold me to it, maybe I will wear my one Calvin and Hobbes tie that my parents found at a airport store. I think it was in Florida, to be honest. They found
sounds like where you'd find it.
They
There's
found
an airport store in Florida.
a faux silk Calvin and Hobbes tie and bought it for me from an airport gift shop.
Amazing.
So I literally do have one single Calvin and Hobbes tie.
Let's see if you'll remember on Wednesday. I hope you do.
Also, it kind of doesn't go with anything that I wear anymore.
Well, you can always
Kinda like
switch
green
it
and
out
stuff.
midway through the day if you want.
Yeah. I mean, if I wear a black shirt, it'll go. But also, the Calvin and Hobbes part of the design will be behind the vest.
Oh.
So you can't see it.
That's
So no,
not
that
good.
store did not lose my business. If anything, they gave me a great story to keep telling.
Sure.
But yeah, so I was surprised that no other store had told their customers the no DC or no image books are going to be on the shelves.
Yeah.
And you could say, well, what if they deleted those posts when the books came in? There were no posts that said, hey, the DC books are here now.
Right. And also, why would you go to the trouble of deleting it at that point?
So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to be a comic store owner of a different comic store, a random comic store, not Challengers, and you're going to be a customer who comes in and notices that the new issue of Plastic Man #1 that you wanted
Plastic Man No More.
isn't on the shelf.
Hi, I was looking in your new this week section and I saw that you don't have any copies left of Plastic Man No More, #1.
Oh, fucking Lunar. Man, we didn't get anything from them. No deliveries. We didn't get anything. We're screwed. So we're the victim.
What's
it's
happening now?
Lunar's fault. And you should be angry at them as well.
Why are you yelling at me?
Because I'm angry at Lunar. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Like, I guarantee you that is the occurrence that happened in several of these stores.
I will tell you straight up that the version of the Tuesday night email that subscribers got, letting them know that Lunar had not arrived yet and would not be arriving until sometime on Wednesday, was edited. There's the version I wrote, and then 5 hours later, there was the version I sent. And I'm very glad I took 5 hours to wait to send it.
Yeah, sure. I even used that because I wrote the email that went out today about next week's books. I wrote it on Tuesday, and it referenced the fact that how can you be excited for next week's books? We don't have this week's books yet. Knowing full well, I'm sure that we'd have them by Thursday, but it just gave me something to put.
Sure.
I was talking to David Harper from Sketch.com and Off Panel about how...
And the Sketch Zine.
One of the hardest things for me is to write that introductory paragraph every week.
Sure.
And he has the same thing he does a weekly recap email that goes out to all of his people on his mailing list, where he goes into greater detail about all the things he did on the site that week. And he said that he also feels like it's hard to come up with stuff every time, and it's a weekly occurrence. And I felt bad for complaining because I have a paragraph and he has an entire email.
Yeah.
And mine is much easier to write than his is. But he also said that as a regular recipient of our weekly Thursday email, he greatly appreciates the effort put in and the information in it, because his local shop in Anchorage, Alaska does not do that. So he doesn't have that information. And Challengers to us has always been about information, giving you as much information and being as transparent as we can to make your comic buying habits easier and more fulfilling. I don't know, just so you know what's happening at every point. And when something is wrong and it's our fault, most of the time we will tell you it's our fault. Depending on how egregious it is on our end, we may alter the facts a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we've ever outright lied and done the, like, oh, Diamond shorted us. It's usually like, no, we forgot to order that, or oh, we didn't order enough, or whatever. Like, stores will do that a lot, where, as you know, again, everything is the distributor's fault. Everything that's happening is the distributor's fault. And here you are, suffering constantly and barely persevering through their malice. And it's like, that's not how it works, man. Like, there's things that are Lunar's fault, or there's things that are DC's fault, or there's things that are FedEx's fault, or there's things that are your fault. Like, different things are going on in the industry. And that's,
when he said your fault, he means our fault, not your fault, listener.
Well, there's things that's your fault too.
Oh, sure. But in that
sentence, I meant us, you as in the retailer, which is why, again, it just feels like it's best practices to be A, transparent, and B, upfront. Again, the frustration with Lunar wasn't necessarily that things were late. I get it, things happen. But it's A, not telling us things were happening, and B, not telling us what was happening that made everything worse for us. Harder to communicate to our customers, harder to figure out how we were going to deal with a disruption in our shipment schedule. These things could have been easily resolved by a single email notifying stores affected that stores were being affected and going to be affected for the next few days.
Even if you didn't tell us why, just tell us that it's happening.
Yeah, and
our desire to put the information out for our customers had nothing to do with us not getting the information from Lunar. We were doing it anyway. It wasn't like, oh, well, I see how bad I feel. Let's make sure no one else feels that way. I didn't consider that. It didn't occur to me. What occurred to me was just making sure people knew that there could be a disruption in their schedule.
Yeah, so that they don't show up disappointed to the store. That's what we'd like to avoid. And while that could mean a short-term hit to our business, hopefully it's, long-term relationships that we have with our customers so that they will then not take that disappointment into their next visit and their next visit and so on. Even if it's something that was out of our control, what we could control is when they learned about it. And that's the thing that I wish Lunar had taken more care in, was it's not like telling me that these things are going to be delayed. It was like, well, now I'm taking my business to another distributor. Where else am I going to get my DC books from?
Right.
You're never losing that part of my business. You're going to have that forever because DC made sure of it. Like Image, yeah, I could take that someplace else, but am I going to shift my entire distribution buying from one to another because the books were delayed 1 week? Because again, if you had told me what was going on, it's fine. Like, I get it, things happen, but you got to communicate that stuff. And that's how we feel with our customers, is it's worse to just keep that stuff a secret in hopes that, no one's going to get mad at you. Well, when I get mad is when I don't know these things.
Yeah. I assume there's going to be people who very nicely say that the way we reached out and tried to get the message to everybody is a reason that they shop with us. But I guarantee you that not a single person from a store that doesn't shop with us who didn't get that information looks at it like, well, they should have told us.
Yeah, I think it's a thing of,
and that's just me being petty, and the fact that like, this whole podcast is almost virtue signaling, because it's like, look what we did for all you people, and no one else did that.
No.
I mean, hopefully it's not seen that way.
I certainly don't mean it that way.
It just makes me disappointed in everybody else.
And the thing about this that's so weird is that in a month, I'm probably not going to remember this or care. Like, it was a thing that affected our business this week. Assuming this is a situation that Lunar is working to resolve as far as how their processes go, then I won't care. Like, it'll be in the past. I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm not going to bring it up at like a conference and yell at them during the open mic section because my books were late one week. What do you want them to do about it? They can't travel through time. Like, what is the solution beyond making sure this doesn't happen again? And again, to me, the communication aspect is what I would expect them to work on doing better. But yeah, people who are communicating with us, our customers, telling them, hey, if you come in on Wednesday before a certain time of day, everything might not be here. So consider if you want to postpone your trip, make 2 trips, or just come in early and get what we got and get everything else a week later. I don't think most of them care. I don't think, like, there was really nothing that we were seeing this week where people were like, I made a huge trip out to get this book that you don't have yet. Yeah. It didn't seem like, even the couple people who ended up coming back for specific books didn't seem super put out, even though they didn't know ahead of time.
Sure.
They were specific to customers that were not, didn't see any of our social media stuff, didn't get a subscription notification. So they just came in expecting certain books to be there, and they weren't. They came back.
There were several people who had no idea. Then there were just the 2 random people who were like, oh, I guess you're out of this one book that we'd gotten on the shelf.
Which, I don't know if you haven't already, go to our Instagram and look at the photos that I took Tuesday night when only Penguin Random House and Diamond had been received and put out on the shelves. Look at how many empty spaces there are. It's the majority of the comic spaces are empty because it's one spot for every cover. And there was a bunch of like DC and Image stuff that had multiple covers and needed an entire shelf. Imagine looking at that at like 11:10 a.m. on a Wednesday, 10 minutes after we opened, and thinking, wow, I guess they sold out of a lot of stuff. That is insane to me. That is a conclusion I would not necessarily draw. I would immediately assume, okay, something's happened, and I should find out what's going on. Instead of just making me, the retailer, go, did you have a question about something? And having them go, oh, I guess you sold out of this book. Like, you didn't even ask? You were like, oh, they must have sold out of 70% of their books in the first 10 minutes, which, boy, if that happens, let me tell you, don't bother coming in at noon because we're already closed for the day. I'm just taking that money and I'm going home. Yeah, that didn't happen this time. We just didn't get 70% of our stuff yet.
Well, as you said, in a month, it won't even be that big of a deal. It wasn't as big of a deal because we got through it. I do feel really bad for Marvel Zombies Dawn of Decay artist Jason Muir, who was signing from 11 to 1 on Wednesday.
Sorry, Jason.
We'd picked that time together, he and I, because 11 o'clock on a Wednesday is when we are normally busiest. Mm-hmm. And when we opened on Wednesday, only one of our regular line waiters was waiting in line.
The other ones came... no, it was 2. One was waiting. A second one came in 5 minutes later.
Right, but wasn't in line.
Right.
There were 2 other people who were waiting in line who are not normal line waiters and who were not coming in for...
Yeah, but we usually have a half dozen people that are waiting when we open on a Wednesday, and the rest of them all came in after we sent out the notification saying, hey, everything's in.
Yeah.
So they definitely waited. They would have been there at 11, and they were not.
So I feel bad for Jason. Like, we wasted his time, and we knew that we wouldn't get as many people to come in. But also, we didn't change his signing because there were some very specific and very enthusiastic people who are not Wednesday regulars who said, oh, I'm going to be here for this, who then in turn did not show.
Thanks for that.
But I feel that's always the case.
Always. Oh, man. Like, we had talked about it back when we used to do, when listings on Facebook for Facebook events were more prominent.
Yeah.
As far as how people were doing things. what we always found out was you could either say like, what was it? It's like yes, no, and interested.
Yeah.
No means I'm not coming. Interested means I'm not coming. Yes means I'll think about going. Like none of that ever meant anything.
What it was back at that point was, if they say yes, they're not going. If they say interested, they might come. If they don't say anything at all, they might come. But yes always meant no.
Uh-huh.
What a wrong message to give. Well, I'll tell you what, Dal. I actually had one, if not two, other topics to go over for this week's episode that I hadn't written down. I just had no cookies written down, as you'd read before. But I think at this point we can honestly save that until next week, if you're fine with that.
I don't know what they are, so yes.
Just saving anything.
Sure. You don't have another 700 episodes of content ready to go?
I haven't started writing them yet.
Ad lib.
Is it too on the nose to call this episode Lunar Eclipse?
Interesting.
It was good. It's that or no cookies.
I'll let you decide, Patrick, since I already quit.
I want you to decide a title for once. You don't have to do it now, but I want the people listening to know that whatever the title of this episode is, Dal chose it.
Okay.
Now I'm just going to put some horribly offensive stuff in there and have it.
Jeez.
I'm going to make it so you read the N-word on the cue card this week.
It's the name of this episode.
That is a very specific SNL Please Don't Destroy joke.
Okay.
That is where it came from.
Name of this episode is going to be like, Let's Go White Sox. No, I didn't say that.
Here's to 119 only.
Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics. Felt so wrong.
I know, right?
Let's.
I didn't like that.
Let's do it reverse again, but I'll be quicker with my half.
Okay. Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
Ugh, gross.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. And help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.